Ready. Play.
Gene says that it doesn't look slow. Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be pretty fast. I think that the altitude in Turin is a bit of a factor too. So yeah, I guess Zverev and Rublev. Did we? Yeah, we didn't mention that all that much, I guess. Yeah, I do have some belief in Rublev. I think in like just keeping it close. Maybe if there is going to be a match in that group where Rublev does something, I don't know if it's more likely going to be Alcaraz or Zverev. The thing is that Rublev against Alcaraz, it's like a very we haven't really seen that rivalry at all. Like, okay, Carlos won last year at the ATP Finals on a super quick court, which is good for him. Then again, Madrid this year, a win for Andrey, but Carlos has that arm issue, can't accelerate through the forehand. And but still, I mean, I guess I would just expect it. I just think that Rublev, out of the players that have like barely gotten into the ATP finals or were simply out of form, like Medvedev, okay, he was like kind of almost out of form the entire season. But to me, he still has a relatively solid level in patches. And yeah, I guess I could just see him pushing these guys. This is actually a very important match for the whole group as well for me, because if you look at it like tomorrow, if Zverev beats Rublev, then the group will seem kind of done.
Yeah, I would say so as well. And I get what you mean. I think I tend to agree with you. Rublev kind of dictates his own fate in a lot of ways, just, by virtue of having probably the biggest forehand on tour. Just kind of goes up and down, and if he's feeling it, then yeah, he totally could. He could run away with this, not run away with it, but he could certainly he could find a way past Zverev. And I'm not inclined to say, like, in the same way that because Ruud's had a bad season, he's going to play badly. Rublev's kind of been the same, but you're right, in patches he's played really well throughout the entirety of the season, and I think he'll be quite up for it in quicker conditions. So yeah, I think this is not 50-50. I still think Zverev's the favourite, because, as I say, you can kind of just play kind of his own kind of average tennis, and that's enough indoors sometimes if it's quick enough, because his serve is just so good. And I just remember thinking last year, he could, he did so well just because he was able to place it against every single player he played. So I'm expecting the same. I think it's about 60-40 in the favour of Zverev, but I think if it's 40% to Rublev, that's pretty decent anyway. So that's how I'm feeling. Definitely. And I can see that comment about confidence in the chat. Yeah, but again, Rublev's so kind of up and down. It's like maybe he just goes on a little run of points where he hits his forehand well, and that's enough to maybe get a break. And yeah, it's tough to say for sure what's going to happen. By the way, just a little side note. Just a side note. I was coaching some kids who are like 8 years old, right? And I'm mentioning all these ATP players to them because they've got to play this game where they take on the persona of a ATP player, right? And whatever player you get, you have like a trait. So you have to have forehands only, or you have to like do one serve or something like that, right? So I tell them the player, and then they guess what the trait is. So I told one of them they were Andrey Rublev, and these are 8-year-olds from Scotland who I didn't even think knew who Rublev was. They don't really care. They might know Andy Murray and they might know a few other players, but they know who Rublev is. And they're like, oh, what? So he basically says, what am I meant to like? Yeah, exactly. Am I meant to like hit myself in the legs for the rest of the match? And I was like, is that actually what you think of Rublev as? And yes, it is. That's what kids think of Rublev as. Just like me, I'm nutcase basically, which is a shame. I still think of the forehand first, but yeah, for everybody else, of course, that's what you see in the media, right? So
yeah, I mean, not surprised, especially if you're like a more casual observer or you're simply 8 years old. I mean, obviously, this is the thing that stands out. I mean, even for like hardcore tennis fans right now, most of because Rublev is not doing all that well, most of the talk about him is gonna be the reactions and gonna be what he's doing on the court. Everything besides playing, really. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been taking that into consideration, I suppose. Sure, Zverev's confidence is higher right now, as Dave says, but this is also a shaky subject. Alexander Zverev's confidence in general. So I don't really know if he's just gonna come out and just come out, slap forehands. It happens sometimes. It actually happens pretty often at the ATP finals. Of course, he's won it twice, once in Turin, once in London. But yeah, I mean, if this is actually a relatively exciting match tomorrow. I think a lot of the group stage is going to be lopsided matchups, but this one is quite interesting. We have to remember that before the ankle injury, it was like also a very depressing head-to-head from the perspective of the underdog. Like, it was just as bad as Sinner Demino, really. There were so many matches where like he couldn't even break him. He was barely winning points on return. He couldn't hit through him at all. And then, of course, he won. He beat Zverev 3 times in 2023. So that season when the German was coming back. Well, even ATP finals last year, Zverev won. So I don't know. It's an intriguing one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Zverev just wins 6-3, 6-4 or whatever. Obviously, that's still probably like the most likely outcome here.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.